Hello everyone, today's video is about how we sabotage our happiness. Let's look at 5 mental habits sabotaging our happiness. We as a whole need to be more joyful. Yet, sorting out some way to arrive is shockingly precarious. The things that we expect will satisfy us, cash, status, great looks, and so on, as a rule end up being not close to as compelling as we trusted. Also, a large portion of the self-improvement stuff we read appears, well, correspondingly baffling over the long haul. While I don't have any sorcery projectile arrangement here, I would like to recommend one potential approach to joy that is by all accounts generally disregarded. The most immediate way to satisfaction is to dispose of terrible mental propensities. As a rehearsing clinician and advisor, I converse with miserable individuals consistently, a significant number of whom are very affluent, acceptable, attractive, and have perused the very best self-improvement guides. However, I can't help thinking that what regularly keeps them away from satisfaction is the assortment of negative mental projects running out of sight in their psyches. I can't guarantee nirvana, and nobody arrangement works for everybody, except on the off chance that you can figure out how to recognize and diminish these negative mental propensities. I think you'll get yourself a little more joyful every day. 1. Assumptions gone wild. Assumptions are convictions about how the world should function, remembering how individuals for it should act. And keeping in mind that they can be useful on occasion, they're frequently very risky mentally. Here's a model. Subsequent to going the entire evening time cleaning the carport, you expect that your companion ought to quickly thank you and express their appreciation. At the point when they don't, you feel miserable and disillusioned as well as furious and disappointed. What's more, when they actually don't make reference to anything, you begin ruminating on every one of the past occasions in your marriage when you've accomplished something quite not been valued for it. Obviously, this prompts considerably more indignation and disdain, and in the long run, is probably going to prompt a battle or genuine contention. The issue with assumptions like this is that, correct, your assumptions will habitually get abused. Furthermore, each time they get abused, you will encounter shock and stun on top of whatever other feeling you feel. Inconvenience is, shock is an enthusiastic enhancer, feeling furious is sufficiently difficult. Yet, when you feel irate in the wake of hoping to feel appreciated, your annoyance, and every one of the pointless practices that follow from it, will develop a lot greater and more agonizing. The exercise here is straightforward. Troublesome emotions are significantly simpler to deal with when they don't get you unsuspecting. In the event that you need to get more joyful, more settled, and all the more sincerely steady, particularly in your connections, begin focusing closer on your assumptions. Also, when you begin seeing them, change them to be more reasonable or toss them out altogether. 2. Passing judgment on your feelings. Feelings are not positive or negative. Uneasiness isn't awful, anything else than downpour or snow is terrible. Outrage isn't terrible any more than having red hair is awful. Anguish isn't terrible any more than being short or tall is awful. For something to be ethically positive or negative, you must have command over it. This is the reason nobody at any point gets shipped off prison for feeling furious. You can't handle if you feel irate, and subsequently, it's not something you can be considered responsible for. Then again, individuals get shipped off prison all the ideal opportunity for acting forcefully. Also, the explanation? You can handle your activities, which implies you can be considered responsible for them and they can be decided as right or off base, great or bad. Judging yourself for something you can't handle, including your feelings, is a set ready for affliction. Consider the big picture. At the point when you judge yourself for feeling dismal, presently you feel regretful on top of feeling tragic. At the point when you condemn yourself for feeling apprehensive, presently you feel remorseful or irate on top of feeling apprehensive. At the point when you censure yourself for feeling furious, you feel tragic on top of feeling irate. All things being equal, attempt this, be empathetic with yourself when you're in enthusiastic torment. At the point when you feel terrible inwardly, take a stab at conversing with yourself like you would converse with an old buddy who was enduring, with getting, empathy, and backing. 3. Stressing over what's to come. In case you're a constant worrier, you know how much nervousness and stress it adds to your life. You likewise presumably understand that stressing over awful things happening doesn't appear to really make beneficial things occur, all things being equal. At the end of the day, you most likely understand that stressing is all result and no fix. So for what reason do it? For what reason do we stress despite the fact that we realize it worries us and makes us restless? We stress since it gives us the deception of control. Here's the manner by which it works. Your creative mind makes a most dire outcome imaginable about something you can't really control. You feel vulnerable. So you stress. Since, despite the fact that stressing makes uneasiness, it reduces defenselessness, briefly, in any case. Also, for some individuals, they'd preferably feel restless and worried about vulnerable. In any case, similar to any compulsion, the momentary advantages of stress don't actually exceed the drawn-out costs. Certainly, agonizing over how you could deal with a wide range of horrendous things momentarily causes you to feel in charge, however the pile of pressure and tension makes up for lost time to you in the end. Since when you're persistently focused and restless, you begin seeing an ever-increasing number of things to stress over, which prompts increasingly more tension and stress. And keeping in mind that you most likely needn't bother with me to reveal to you this current, it's terribly difficult to be cheerful when you're continually pushed and restless. The genuine misfortune of constant concern is that it denies us of our lives. In the event that you need to end the cycles, recover your life, and feel less focused on constantly, the mystery is to be more tolerating of powerlessness and vulnerability. Awful things occur, a lot of which you can't really control. Much better to try for some degree of reconciliation with this than live willfully ignorant about it. 4. Consolation chasing. Consolation looking for feels great at the time, however it's reckless over the long haul. We as a whole vibe restless at times. Also, clearly, feeling on edge is awkward, excruciating even. So what could be more normal than the craving to lighten that torment and distress? Nothing. Which is the reason consolation looking for is so normal. Subsequent to committing an error during an introduction at work, you quickly call your life partner, expecting consolation and encouragement. Following an off-kilter social experience, you text a companion, expecting to get some caring words that relieve your nerves. When you notice that bizarre inclination in your stomach, you call up your accomplice, trusting their quieting words will ease your feelings of dread. Presently look, there's nothing amiss with consolation as such. It's entirely characteristic and beneficial to need and get backing and solace from others when we're apprehensive. Consolation becomes tricky when it gets constant. At the point when your quick and sole reaction to dread or weakness is to go to someone else for alleviation, it turns into a type of self-damage. Quit reappropriating your nervousness to others. There are two major issues with this. You lose the capacity to deal with your tensions all alone, and you wind up making unfortunate social conditions, which as a rule lead to feelings of hatred and strife, in your most significant connections. Rather than utilizing others to reduce your uneasiness, figure out how to manage it well yourself. Work on enduring nervousness and vulnerability instead of diverting yourself from it. Work on sitting with your sensations of powerlessness instead of attempting to kill it. Figure out how to live with your feelings of dread and frailties and continue ahead with life regardless of them, instead of requiring your life to be postponed until others cause you to feel good. 5. Clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is the psychological propensity for accepting you comprehend what others are thinking and feeling. Individuals have an uncanny capacity to make instructed surmises about the thing others are thinking and feeling dependent on an assortment of inconspicuous outside signs. For instance, my better half has a particular brow fixing that can mean just something single: the children have been little beasts throughout the day and you need to take them to the recreation center at the present time and give me in any event an hour of room and calm or disaster will be imminent. And keeping in mind that I'm truly adept at seeing this and deriving her opinion and feeling at that point, this capacity to essentially guess what her might be thinking is risky. Why? Since I'm not close to as great at it as I might suspect I am. Obviously, for each one circumstance where you really are acceptable at guessing what another person might be thinking, there are likely 12 where you're awful at it. However, the accomplishment of a couple of triumphs drives you to a misguided feeling of certainty about the others. This implies that the greater part of us stroll around intuition. We understand what others need and feel, however being off base more often than not. What's more, accordingly, we make loads of awful suspicions about what they need. So we wind up doing and saying a ton of moronic things, which prompts loads of idiotic clashes, which prompts bunches of misery. Rather than accepting you understand people's opinion and feel, have a go at asking them all things considered. This has two helpful impacts. You appear to be sympathetic rather than critical. Right or wrong, when you accept you comprehend others, you're probably going to seem to be pompous or even confrontational. Which is probably going to prompt clash. On other hand, when you accept you don't know yet communicate interest by asking, you seem to be caring, which prompts undeniably more gainful and agreeable collaborations. You improve information. The more you just ask individuals how they feel or their opinion in a given circumstance, the better your model for them becomes. What's more, that thus implies your estimates at how they're thinking and feeling will be more exact. So we have somewhat of a catch. If you need to have the option to guess individuals' thoughts all the more adequately, you need to quit attempting to guess their thoughts and simply ask all things considered. At the end of the day, our happiness is largely a function of our relationships. Are you constantly in fights and battles with the most important people in your life? Then yeah, you're not going to feel all that happy. On the other hand, if your most important relationships tend to run smoothly and conflict-free, you are going to feel much happier and more content on average. So break the habit of assuming you know what people think and feel and build the habit of simply asking instead. You and everyone around you will be much happier for it. All you need to know if you want to be happier, focus on identifying and eliminating these 5 unhelpful mental habits: expectations gone wild, judging your emotions, worrying about the future, reassurance seeking, mind reading.